Hey everybody, this is a continuation from the previous videos regarding the discovery that I'm working on right now, where our sun is powered from an external source. An external source being the Orion Nebula Trapezium. So in this particular video, what I want to refer to is I want to show you the connection between the electric universe theory, the central sun, that we see in the esoteric texts, and also the FOHAT, which is called the cosmic electricity, or the electrical universal entity, that we also hear about in the esoteric texts. And I want to show you the similarities between what we see scientifically in the electric universe theory versus what we see in these texts. And I think you're going to see there's quite a striking similarity between the way the descriptions are actually brought forth. So what I've got here for you is I've got a small clip from a video. This is Wal Thornhill talking, and he is describing starbirth. And then I'm going to go into showing you some of the texts, and we're going to probably review and take a look at the meaning of some of these things, and then I'll go in and show you some of the similarities. So here we go. Let's listen to Wal here.
As I said yesterday, starbirth is a gravitational accident in the Big Bang cosmology. But this is a quote from over 30 years ago from Hans Alfvén. There is a general belief that stars are forming by gravitational collapse. In spite of vigorous efforts, no one has yet found any observational indication of confirmation. Thus, the generally accepted theory of stellar formation may be one of 100 unsupported dogmas which constitute a large part of present-day astrophysics. Now, the reason for introducing this is that if we're going to look at how a star connects to the galaxy, one of the bits of evidence we can look at is star birth, what actually goes on. And this is what the infrared telescopes have been telling us, that stars are formed along cosmic current filaments. Of course, the reports don't talk about electric current, they just talk about the filaments. This is a network of 27 star-forming filaments derived from the Herschel Observatory. They're numbered there because in the original report they were very interested in the fact that the filaments are huge, stretching for tens of light years, and regardless of their length or density, the filament, the width is always the same. And what is that reminiscent of? A lightning bolt. The lightning bolt stretches from the clouds to the ground, and its width remains roughly the same over that entire distance. So what we're looking at, in effect, is a form of cloud-to-cloud lightning. What's more, the stars within these filaments flicker. Now, the gravitational model doesn't allow for that, because for it to flicker requires material to be added to the star repeatedly and very quickly. So astronomers were surprised to see the brightness of young objects varying by more than 20% over just these few weeks, since the accretion process should take years or even centuries. But of course, we all know how electric lights can flicker. Lightning itself can flicker. The quote, of course, is, "Yet again, Herschel observations surprise us."
So there we go. So there's a clip from Wal, and now we're going to take a look at some of the texts and identifiers of some of these things that we see in these esoteric texts. So right here I'm on thunderbolts.info, and I want to read you this part about the Birkeland currents here. So it says that the electric power density in dusty plasma is greatest along the axis of Birkeland current filaments. The current produces an electromagnetic field that draws matter to the filaments from surrounding space more strongly and from a greater volume than is possible with gravity. When sufficient matter accumulates in the filaments, they begin to glow. Stars are born along the filaments like beads on a string in those energetic displays of electricity. Here it says, Birkeland currents can also attract matter from the surrounding region. This is because the azimuthal magnetic fields created by each axial current from a pressure gradient radially inwards with a minimal between two currents, while the magnetic fields extend beyond the current rope itself. This causes charged matter and ionized species external to the current rope to be attracted towards the center of the current rope. The process is known as Markland convection. Okay, so in these two, we see this attraction that happens towards the Birkeland current. And we see that these things form like beads on a string. Stars are born along filaments like beads on a string. We also saw Wall introduce the Orion Nebula in his talk there, and he was showing that the Orion Nebula does this exact thing. So, let's take a look at some of the esoteric texts. Some of this may make sense to you, but some of it will not. The point is to make the connection between the esoterics so that we can dig deeper into some of the meanings that may steer us in the right direction. So Zio becomes Fohat. And I remember Fohat is cosmic electricity. It's the universal electric entity that is spoken of in the occult science. The swift sons of the divine sons, whose sons are the Lipica. These are stanzas from the Secret Doctrine, from Helena Blavatsky. He is the steed, he being Fohat is the steed, and the thought is the rider. Now here, check this out. He passes like lightning through the fiery clouds, which is what we see in the Orion Nebula, cosmic mists, takes 3 and 5 and 7 strides through the 7 regions above and the 7 below. He lifts his voice and calls the innumerable sparks or atoms and joins them together. So this is Fohat. So Fohat, this electricity, passes like lightning through these fiery clouds, and he causes the innumerable sparks or these atoms to aggregate together and join together. Sounds a little bit like what we see right here, where it says when sufficient matter accumulates in the filaments, they begin to glow. Stars are born along the filaments like beads on a string in those energetic displays of electricity. This is something else that kind of confirms what we've read in the thunderbolts.info. This is from the electric entity, which I've read for you before, but listen to this section of it. Fohat is called the thread of primeval light, the ball of thread of Ariadne. In this labyrinth of matter, this thread runs along the 7 planes, tying itself into knots, every plane being septenary. There are thus 49 mystical and physical forces, larger knots forming stars, suns, and systems, the smaller ones planets. Our sun is one of the countless milliard of knots of Fohat. So we have knots forming stars. It's a lot like what we see beads on a string. Now here we go. The central sun causes Fohat to collect primordial dust in the form of balls, to impel them to move in converging lines, and finally to approach each other and aggregate. So we need to identify what the central sun is again. Now if you recall, the central sun was the source of the light, and our sun just is powered by this central sun. So what we see here is that the sun was not considered by the ancients as the direct cause of light, but only as an agent of the former through which light passes on its way to our sphere. Thus it was always called by the Egyptians the eye of Osiris, who was himself the Logos, the first begotten, or the light made manifest to the world, which is the mind and the divine intellect of the concealed. Okay, so it's Osiris, the eye of Osiris. And the eye of Osiris is the eye with the triangle around it. Okay, so the eye is a very important thing here.
And the formation of the shape of the inner eye is not yet fully understood. It's interesting they call it an eye because that was a very powerful reference in mythology to some of the things that were witnessed in the electrical events in prehistory.
Well, in our case, in our system, the eye of Osiris, this right here is what we see. And this eye that he's spoken of, this eye is what actually is the central sun of our system. And this is also referred to as the Logos. But we can also take a look at the Egyptian Logos and its description. We can also compare with the Mayans, and we can see that there is a a similarity in their descriptions of it. So here we go right here. This is the unknown essence. The origin of the Jewish image may perhaps be traced to the Hermes Pymander, the Egyptian Logos, we just read, which was the Eye of Osiris, who appears within a cloud of humid nature with a smoke escaping from it. And we see down here in the Mayans' description of the seed of creation, a triangle is formed by these three hearthstones, which represents Siph, Rigel, and Alatek. And in the center is an area the Maya identified as the place of origin, the seed of creation represented by the smoke that comes out of the burning fire. And this is the Orion Nebula, and the smoke out of the burning fire is the same as the cloud of humid nature with the smoke escaping from it. This represents the Logos. This represents the central sun. So back to here we see this. The central sun causes Fohat to collect primordial dust in the form of balls, to impel them and move in converging lines, and finally to approach each other and aggregate. Being scattered in space without order or system, the world germs come into frequent collision with their final aggregation, after which they become wanderers, comets. Then the battles and struggles begin. The older bodies attract the younger, while others repel them. Many perish, devoured by their stronger companions. Those that escape become worlds, or again, Fohat runs the Manus. So we see that this electricity, this cosmic electricity, that the central sun, which is the Orion Nebula Trapezium, uses Fohat, which is cosmic electricity in the Birkeland currents, and the pinch that we actually see in the center of the trapezium, or right around the trapezium stars. That actually causes the dust and everything to aggregate and form knots, which in larger versions create actual stars. Now the aggregation and the attraction that we see, because it says Birkeland currents can also attract matter from the surrounding region. Well, now let's take a look at what something in the Bible is actually also backing some of this stuff up too. And this is in Amos 5:8. Because it says, "Seek him that makes the 7 stars in Orion," or the one that made the Pleiades in Orion, "who turns the darkness into dawn and darkens the day with night, who summons the waters of the sea and pours them out on the face of the earth." Yahweh is his name. Yahweh has already been identified before when we saw in the Karlskirch church, and also Michelangelo's creation of Adam, that this is the actual area where we see Yahweh. So this is the actual Logos. This is the firstborn. And it uses cosmic electricity, just like we see in the electric universe theory, and creates stars using Fohat, which is cosmic electricity. So as you can see, the electric universe theory is in agreement with what we see from the Secret Doctrine from Helena Blavatsky. Passes like lightning through the fiery clouds, takes 3 and 5 and 7 strides through the 7 regions above and the 7 below. He lifts his voice and calls the innumerable sparks or atoms and joins them together. So he aggregates them all and he forms things like stars, planetary systems, or what have you out of it. And just as a reminder of some of the other characteristics here, he speaks to the sun and it does not shine. He seals off the light of the stars. So this is, again, referencing that he powers the sun. And then finally, another characteristic. He made all the stars, the Bear, Orion, and the Pleiades, and the constellations of the southern sky. So he makes the stars. And what we see are these fiery lightning passing through the clouds that come together, where he actually pulls the water and aggregates all these things together using Fohat, which is cosmic electricity as described in the occult esoteric texts.
Of a great city at night, stars are lit at great distances from where their power is being generated. Each star is the focus of an electromagnetic pinch in the galactic current stream, the details of which have to be worked out.
And I think that with some of the information we've seen in the esoteric texts, the labeling and understanding of the symbolism behind the central sun, where stars are actually forming, and how they form, and its description of how all this happens through electricity, with what the esoteric texts call fohat. Even the description of the knots and the beads on the string and everything that we see, all of these are very similar in their description. So I hope you thought this was helpful. We should see more evidence pointing to the Orion Nebula as being our central sun and the area that powers our sun. Guys, have a great day. Talk to you soon.